Right, can you hear me okay? Cool. Put your hands up if you can't hear me. All right, okay, so she can't. All right, so the final day of professional imaging. I cannot believe how quickly it's gone by. Who's been here for the 3 days, just out of interest? Hardcore. That's hardcore. So you folks generally just for today, right? Just for today. Cool. Well, first of all then, if it's the last session of the day, thank you very much for coming along to this one. Okay, so hopefully you're going to leave on a high. You'll leave with a good taste in your mouth. Does anybody here, apart from you folks who were here yesterday and the day before, is there anybody here who has also seen me doing any kind of presentation in the past? Blimey. And you're really here? Okay, cool. All right. Well, I think generally it would be fair to say that, this is my third time at professional imaging, which I understand is quite a thing because it's a privilege to be here because they don't generally invite the same people back that often. So I'm kind of hoping that's a good sign, right? But I think before now, those of you who have seen me would expect me to be showing lots of Photoshop, because that's generally what I was known for. I started off as a retoucher, just working on images, so Photoshop was my happy place, and that's what I was always showing people. How you doing? I recognise, see? So then 2 years ago, my first book came out, and that was all about Photoshop. But when that came out, I made the decision that from that point, I need to now put more focus into my photography, because I didn't want only to be known as the person that did Photoshop. We all see it every day. Technology is improving. Things are getting much more accessible for everybody. Plugins in Photoshop are getting really good. Camera sensors are getting really good. And I was just thinking that really the retouching side of things, most people, and I'm not necessarily talking of everybody here, not people who maybe do this for a lot of money, but most people, most home users, which is a big audience, they can get where they want to be with their pictures with a lot of plugins. So they don't really need to know horrendous amounts of Photoshop. But although Photoshop is improving all the time, there are new things being brought in. Some of them are just like crazy. How they think of them, I don't know. But although the technology on Photoshop is improving, it's still the same story: garbage in, garbage out. It will always be. I honestly think no matter how good Lightroom, Photoshop, Capture One, got to say that a bit quieter because Adobe over there, Capture One and all those other things, no matter how good they get, it's still really important to have the best picture. And I guess I'm talking to people who already get that, right? Okay. So the presentation for today then, it's not just Photoshop. It's based on a book. But before we kick off, if you've got your phones with you, which have got great cameras on them, if you can, just take a quick picture of that screen just there. Now there's a link on there. If you already belong to my email group, you don't need it. See, I know. Body language, I recognize. Good man. But with that link there, what I'm going to do over the next few days, I'm going to write down everything that I've done while I've been here, all the sessions. They are recorded, but some people like to have them written down. So I don't want you to just sit there and try to remember everything. Just kind of relax. If you're going to snore, keep it quiet. But just don't try to remember everything, because you're going to get it in a download, as well as links to some videos and things like that, okay? So you can just relax with that. But the talk today is based around this book here, which is my new book, okay? Those of you who, I've had lots of people asking me, is it here at the show? No, it's not, I'm afraid. The publishers decided to go to Birmingham in the UK, to the photography show. Can you believe that? I think they regret it now. But there's the new book. It's called Photograph Like a Thief, as you can see, which is a bit of a strange title. So I want to explain what that is all about. Then we're going to do a live shoot, and then we're going to do a bit of retouching as well. So there's a lot to throw into this, okay? So let me talk about Photograph Like a Thief first of all. It was inspired, first of all, I guess, by a book that I got by a guy called Austin Kleon. And that's this book here, Steal Like an Artist. If you haven't got it, I highly recommend you get it. It is very cheap, very small, loads of big writing on the pages, so it's very quick to read it, but it is a really, really good book. If you're involved in the creative world, as we all are, it really does make sense. And what Austin Kleon talks about is the idea of copying. But if you mention copying in the photography world, it's like, you can't do that. You've got to be an individual. But my question here now is, look at the size of the group we've got here at the moment, which is a nice group. How difficult is it to become an individual, have your own style, even in a group of this size? That's difficult, right? But look at, the amount of people here today, and that were here yesterday and the day before, the amount of people in the world that want to be photographers. And we have to have our own unique style. How the hell do you do that? I was told when I started out, needed two things. Two things are really important. Only if you want to do this to make money, all right? You've got to have a speciality. You've got to specialize on what it is that you photograph. Now, you can photograph anything you want, of course, because you enjoy it. But if you're going to make money, people are only really wanting to hand over their money to you if they know you specialize in a certain thing. Does that make sense? So when I did a job for Air New Zealand a few years ago, I didn't know a friend of mine submitted my portfolio to Air New Zealand, who were having a new campaign. And I was really nervous because I didn't feel ready anyway to get that kind of work. And it just so happens I didn't get that work. But then I contacted them and I said, could you tell, I'm just interested. You had my portfolio. Why didn't I get the job? And they basically said, we don't know what you are. We want a portrait photographer, but your portfolios at the time, they showed weddings, babies, families, landscape, food. There I was thinking the more I show, the more I'll get back. And it is the complete opposite. The less you show, the more comes back to you. So I got rid of all my portfolios and only kept the one thing that I felt I was strong at and I was good at, and that was portraits and a certain style of portrait. 2 years later, Air New Zealand again, because I kept in touch, all their crew are having a new uniform. And I put my portfolio in to say I'd like to photograph them all. And I got the job. And it was purely because they said, we know what you are. And that was like a light bulb moment for me. It really was, made a huge difference. But regards to stealing like an artist, there's a saying here which is really quite relevant. And this is by somebody far, far cleverer than Glyn Dewis, Salvador Dali, okay? And he says, those who do not want to imitate anything produce nothing. Now, the reason I put that up is because I honestly think that the only way that you can get your own unique style is by copying. But in the photography world, there's like this, what? You can't copy. We've told you, you've got to specialize and you've got to be unique. You can't copy. But you've got to have a starting point, right? You've got to have somewhere to start. But the thing about copying as well is no matter how much you try to copy, you never will. Because we're all different. We've all got different likes, dislikes, tastes, different upbringings, and all that influences what our style will be. So no matter how hard you try to copy something, you never will. For me, a perfect example was I used to do a lot of workshops, and I would have people like yourselves come along to a Photoshop workshop. You'd have your computers, and I would have mine at the front, and I'd have a memory stick with a raw file on it. And I would put that raw file in my computer, and I'd say, right, and you do the same. You've got the same file. And I'd go, okay, right, let's start. Do this, and do this. And you would all do the same. And I go, right, now let's go to this adjustment layer, take the slider to 20, and then change it to overlay blend mode. And you'd all do it. I'd put down my Wacom pen and I'd just walk around, see how you're getting on. And I guarantee every single time, every one of your pictures was slightly different. Not because you've done it wrong, but because I said to you, move the slider 20. And when you do it, you go, actually, I think 10 looks better. And then you go, oh, he said soft light blend mode. What's over? Oh, sorry, he said overlay. I prefer soft light. Now, you're not doing that because you're being naughty and you're going, no, I'm not doing what Glyn says. You're doing it because you don't know why you're doing it. It's because it's just the likes, the dislikes, the tastes, the upbringing, all influencing ultimately what you do. Does that make sense? So no matter how much you try to copy, you can't. Now, one of the things I started doing when it comes to copying was I would collect, like you can see here now, on that screen you can see an example of my Pinterest board, which is another social media website. Who uses Pinterest out of interest? Okay, right. Pinterest out of interest. Wow. So what I've got here is I collect pictures of people, of photographers that I really like. So we're talking Annie Leibovitz, Mark Seliger, Joey Lawrence, and I will just collect their pictures every time I see one, and I'll put them in these boards. I don't know why I like them sometimes, but I think there's something about that I like, and I'll keep it aside. And for me, this is a great way of practicing. I used to do this all the time, and I still do, just to sort of try to copy what I see from them. And I go, how would I do that? Could I use something from that? Could I maybe, like the book title, could I thieve something from that picture, use it in mine to make something new? Just like in music, how many times do you listen to the radio and you hear a piece of music and go, that actually sounds like one from the 60s or 80s? 80s maybe. That sounds like one from the 80s. I wasn't singling anybody out then, by the way, all right? It sounds like one from the 80s. So they take little bits of music and they put it into a new record to make a brand new one. So why can't we do that in photography? Why can't there be something out about a picture from Annie Leibovitz that we think, I really like that pose. I really like that lighting style. Why can't we steal that to make something new? I don't know who it was told me once, but they said there's nothing new in photography. I guess they're right, you know? From my own style, I would say, right, what are people doing? How can I get my style? What is everybody else doing? And they'd be using one light. And I'd go, right, I'm going to use 2. And then I'd see other people using 2 lights. Right, I'll use 3. But that's not what a style comes from. A style doesn't have to be the lighting. The style could be the color grade that you do your pictures. It could be the angle that you take your pictures from. It could be the focal length. It could even be just the expression that you bring out of a person. That could be your style, all right? So for me, like I said, I take these pictures offline, store them, and then I think, well, maybe one day I could use that. Now, it's probably easier to see that one. There's a big light on that one there. So maybe concentrate on this screen just here. But this picture here, when I saw this is by Joey Lawrence. Those of you know Joey L., based in New York. When I saw it, I thought, I love that. I love that picture. It was a great, I thought, for a pose for 2 people together, it was different. Rather than side by side or sitting down, it was just different. So I liked it for that reason. But I also liked the lighting. I thought the lighting was great. It was done for a documentary, or kind of like a documentary drama called Killing Lincoln that he photographed for the National Geographic Channel. Those of you who don't know who Joey Lawrence is, when he was 18, he photographed the advertising material, all the advertising for the Twilight series of movies. When he was 18. Wealthy parents, I reckon. Wealthy parents. Anyway, right, so here we've got this picture. Now, I'm working with a guy called Stephen Cook, and he's a boxer. He became world champion, and he wanted to have a picture of him with his lifetime coach, Michael Graham. And he was kind of thinking maybe something with our gloves on and would be like this. I think, well, that's what everybody would do. What can I do that's different? So I go into my Pinterest and I look, what pictures have I got? And I see this one. So I send it to Steve. I text him the picture. And I say, how about we do something like this? And I didn't mean for him to dress up in the black coat, anything like that. I thought, look at the lighting, look at the posing. And he was like, yeah, I like that. That's kind of cool. And that was easy for me to, rather than explaining it, send him the picture. This is the kind of thing I'd like to do with you, Steve. So if I'm now going to go and photograph Steve and his coach like this, I'm going to take something from this, I need to know, how did Joey Lawrence do this? How did he light it? So then we're talking about reverse engineering pictures, working out how did they light it, all right? We can never get it exact, but we can make a pretty good assessment, right? So let's take a look. First of all, when we look at the Lincoln character, okay, so he's kind of positioned here. And there is light on this side of his face, right? So we'll say there is definitely a light here. I don't know what shape at the moment, but we'll say there's a light on the side. However, there is also a little bit of light on the shadow side of his face. Triangular pattern of light, kind of like Rembrandt lighting. So we'll say then that the light that is here, if he stood here, that light is on the side, but a little bit further forward of him. And the reason for that is, if the light is further forward, it sees past his nose and it hits that cheek. Simple. And we'll talk about that in a short while. So one light on that side. Now the Abraham Lincoln character, he's like this, and he's got a nice profile light going all the way down. And it's very even from his face, down his chest, down his hands. So let's just say, let's take a guess, a strip light, maybe even with a grid to keep it very directional. Now, they're also wearing dark clothing, but there's a lot of detail in that dark clothing, which you can't maybe see on there, but you can see all the pockets and the buttons. So it's possible, only possible, that they maybe had another light, maybe directly above the camera, low power, just to knock a bit of detail into those shadows, or maybe a reflector. Who knows? But when I did the photo shoot with Steve and Michael, I used 3 lights. An octa on this side, strip light, and one above the camera. And we did something completely different with Michael and his coach. Oh, I've jumped forward. But we did this picture here. So we've stolen something from a picture to make something new. We have photographed like a thief. That'd make a good title for a book, right? So that's that one. All right, so you just saw a preview of it then, but another picture I saw was this one, and I love this picture. Absolutely love this picture. Does anybody know who would have done that? Annie. Nice one, Jam. Annie Leibowitz. The clue in the bottom corner down here, vf.com, vanityfair.com. And Annie Leibowitz is my ultimate favorite photographer. I absolutely love the style of the pictures she takes and her 20 assistants. I love this picture. Absolutely love this picture. So, I see it online. I put it into my Pinterest for a time when you never know, I might be able to maybe steal something from it. And sure enough, I then get a job to photograph some men who belong to a group called the Bearded Villains. And these are a group of men who, it's a support group, a worldwide support group for men with beards. Not like yours or mine, we're talking beards, okay? And they look after each other. And they've got tattoos, it's like a brotherhood. And they have meetings, but they dress really sharp. So they have flat caps, fob watches, waistcoats, really sharply dressed. So I'm going to photograph these guys, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do? Because, they're great-looking guys. I've got to make it count. So then I look at this picture, and I think, that would be a great starter for the day. It would get my confidence going. If we did it, they would have a lot of confidence as well. So let's go for this one. So I send them this picture, and let's go for it. So now I've got to reverse engineer it. How did Annie and her team, how did they do this? All right, how did they do this? So let's have a look. Well, first of all, we've got Sir Ian McKellen here. This side of his face is lit. So, really simple. We'll say that it's lit from a light on the side here. But also when we look at it, there is a pattern of light on the shadow side of his face as well. So again, we're looking at kind of Rembrandt style of lighting. So that light is to the side and slightly forward of Sir Ian McClellan, high up, maybe angled down a touch, just so that light sees past the nose to get that pattern of light on there, okay? Now, I know from looking at all that Annie does, she likes to use a very similar octa-shaped thing like this. That's what she kind of likes. She likes that shape of modifier. So we'll say she's using an octa. Now, Sir Patrick Stewart, same side of his face is lit, and the other side is in shadow, again with that pattern of light. So maybe with these two, all she's used is one octa to light them both. Maybe just the one octa. Nice and simple. Now, one thing as well about Annie's pictures, you'll see that she's got this textured canvas background behind. Well, I love it too. It's absolutely gorgeous. She gets them from a company called Oliphant, who are based in New York. Really fabulous, fabulous stuff. But if you wanted one, maybe not even as big as that, not as big as that projector screen there, from Oliphant, you're looking maybe 700 euros. It's like, okay, all right. And if you're like me, maybe you don't have a studio and you move around a lot, so you'd have to take it down and, you know, put it back in the garage, then go somewhere else and roll it out and put it up. The creases are horrendous. So then every time you've got to try and iron it, and it's like trying to iron concrete. It's horrendous, really thick. So they're the kind of backgrounds you want to have up all the time, all right? But I'll show you in a short while how you can save 700 euros, all right? We're going to make our own. Double-sided sticky tape, no. We'll show you in Photoshop how we can do that. So I take this picture then. This is what we're going to do. Oh, one more thing with this. You can also say, you can look to see how a picture is been photographed and lit by the catch lights. Okay, how are the catch lights looking? That's always a good clue. However, people like me move them. So you can't always trust catch lights. If there's maybe two in the one eye, I don't like that, so you get rid of one. So you can't really trust them. But we'll say that Annie didn't touch them, and these are the original catch lights. So we can see from his eyes, the light's kind of here, right? Which would make sense. What we've said, to the side, forward, up and down like this. That would work. So you can see the angle of the catch lights is just there. So then I go and photograph the bearded villains. This is the picture we do first of all. And to kick us off, this is what we end up with. It's not the only picture, but a great start. So confidence in me has gone up. Confidence in them has gone up that they had in me. Okay? So that's that. Now, Annie Leibovitz as well is very famous for her group pictures. Big group pictures. And I think I'm not wrong in saying that group pictures are the photographer's nightmare. There is always somebody, who does not want their photograph taken. In this group of 12, I think, if I remember, these two were the only people who wanted to have their picture taken. So that was a hard job. So I had to keep it simple. One light, that's all it was, looking at how Annie does it. One big octa to the side. Quite some distance back, inverse square law, they're all fairly well evenly exposed, game on. But it wasn't quite as simple as that, because the location wasn't really up to scratch. It wasn't the best location. But on that download that you'll get with the newsletter thing that will come out, I'll give you a link to a video if you haven't seen it already, how you can go from that to, say, that in about 10 minutes. And I'm not saying that to make it go, what? Very, very simple Photoshop. It's only a very simple selection. That's all it is that does this, all right? And like I say, that will be on that link. Now, I get asked quite often, who is the most famous person that you've ever photographed? And I'm like, well, when I was a little boy down this, I started doing training and getting fit. And then up until maybe 10 years ago, I was a competitive bodybuilder. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, you relate to this, right? You get this. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was my hero. So I was like saying, oh, well, the most famous person ever photographed, Arnold Schwarzenegger. absolute legend. Brilliant experience, you know, it's like, wow, dream come true and all that. Or at least that's what I tell people, all right? But this is, this is just between us, all right? Okay, just keep it in our little secret, okay? So this is what I tell people. But I need to make one thing really clear. If you remember nothing else from today, there's one thing I need you to remember, okay? You see this here? It's not a toy. It is an action figure. There is a difference, all right? So, not a toy, action figure, all right? But the detail is unbelievable, unbelievable. But you can see from there now, you see the tethered shooting into the screen. One side of the face is lit, the other side in shadow with that little bit of light pattern on there. That is my favorite lighting style at the moment. From me copying so much, that is what I really enjoy doing, okay? So that's what I'm doing now, but on a small scale as well. Exactly the same style. So we've got a speed light, we've got a rogue flash bender, slightly further forward, angled down, light on one side, pattern on the other. It just translates to everything. It's so, so simple. Now with that, I mean, look at that's the point. Look at the detail. Not a toy, action figure. We're clear on that now, right? Okay, cool. Now, when I did that, I posted it online, and there's a friend of mine called Glenn Melling. I don't know if you've heard of Glenn. He's an incredible retoucher and photographer based in Norway. Absolutely brilliant. And he photographs a lot of miniatures. And with the new Star Wars film that was released lately, he had these little action figures that were this big. And he's set them up into scenes, and he's photographed them to recreate scenes from the film. And you can hardly tell the difference. So a great way for him to practice and to learn, reverse engineer what he saw on the film to recreate it. But when Glenn saw me do this, he said, "Be careful, Glyn." He says, because one action figure leads to another. And I was like, no. I've done all I need to do. I do not need another action figure. But then I saw the Superman film, and I was like, God, that is so good. And I went on to Imp Awards, a website which I recommend you check out, impawards.com. Brilliant website that has movie posters on there, movie artwork from movies from the past, present, and the future. And it's great to look at for ideas. You can see, how do they pose people? What are the scenes like? What's the colouring like? It is great for getting the minds going. It really is. But I saw it and I thought, well, I'll get one more then. And I did that. And I saw a picture from the Man of Steel movie poster. And I thought, I want to redo my own. So just by playing with it, I ended up doing that. And it's not something that's my portfolio work, but it just kept me interested. It made me step out of my comfort zone to learn other skills, because you never know when you may need them. Photography can become so serious. You know, you walk around places like today and there's gadgets and numbers and switches and buttons. It becomes so geeky and so serious. You have to remember you got involved in this for the fun of it. And if you're somebody who does this to get paid and all you do is photograph what other people want you to photograph, that becomes a job and it becomes really hard. You have to have projects going that keep you interested and keep you excited. And that's why I do things like this. Now, I'll talk about one other little project before we move on. And that's this one here. Dad's Army. Anybody seen the film? I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's a remake of the old 1970s, I think it was. Brilliant film. So when I saw this, I loved the film, and it kind of made me think that I'd like to do a project on the war. I've always been interested in the history of World War II. My Uncle Jeff, he's an author, and he's written books about the D-Day landings and all that. And I remember one year, me and my wife were in France, and I texted my Uncle Jeff, and I said, can you tell us where we can go that Grandad would have been? I wanted to find out, because my Grandad was on the landings. Where did he go? And he says, I can do better than that. I'm there tomorrow. And he's turned up in France. We got in his car, and he's driven us around. your granddad was in this field here. You see the trees over there? That's because they knocked them down to bring the tanks through, and fascinating. So I thought, I've got to do something on the war. This was a project, an ongoing project, that was going to really get me interested. So I spoke to a friend of mine who knew somebody that were involved in a group called the Oxford Home Guard Living History Group. And these are a group of men and women that go round to events and they kind of educate people on the history of the war and the Home Guard. And I got to meet them, and I've started now photographing them for the last few months to do a big, long series. And it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to Dunkirk soon to do some filming on the beaches in Dunkirk. It's just going to get better and better. And projects is something, I know I've talked about specialities and styles, but projects is something I highly recommend you get involved in. I used to take pictures when I started. I'd say, right, what can I do? I'll do this picture. Next time I'll do something else. I'll use 2 lights on this one. Next time it'll be something else, and I'll try 3 lights. So when you looked at my portfolio, it could have been 20 different photographers. There was no consistency. So I choose the lighting style that I like, 1 light, and I stick with it. I just keep doing it again and again and again so that it becomes second nature. I don't even think about it. And that allows me then to deal with the person, because that's what I want. I want to bring out a character in the person. The technical side of it, easy. I've done it so many times. I should now be doing what we all should be doing, is working with the person. But you can see here from just a couple of the pictures that I've done, same thing. I love that lighting style with Roger here, light on one side, pattern of light on the other. I absolutely love this. So we're going to do a photo shoot in a minute. And I've got collected some pictures. This is the kind of thing I will do on a very regular basis. I get a collection of pictures together that I really like. These are from Annie Leibowitz and Mark Seliger. And I'll go, right, what can I work on? What can I steal from these pictures to practice to help my style to keep developing? So we're going to use one of these pictures here to photograph our model, Stefan, who's just over here. So Stefan, can I borrow you for a second? Round of applause for Stefan. He's been an absolute trooper the last few days. Thank you, mate, over here. So Stefan, before you sit down, we're going to go for this one. All right? We're going to go for this kind of a style. All right? So that's the kind of seek. So if you want to get yourself like that, well, then start looking at lighting it. And I find doing that when we're doing these projects and looking to develop portfolios, rather than me trying to explain, sit like this, put your leg here, put your hand here, and so on, the more I do that, the more tense they become. If I can say, you see that, can you copy that? And I'll do what I do. I'll get me lights and let them get on with it, all right? So, I'll just grab the light. All right, okay. So we're going to use this one, nice and simple. Thank you very much, Kane. Thank you. Okay, just out of interest then with you folks, who here uses studio lighting? Okay, so then who here uses those little small speed light flashes mainly? Okay, cool. Now with studio lighting, we know we have modeling lights, and we can use that to help position the light, right? If you've got a speed light, you don't really have a modeling light unless you press it and it pulses really quickly and drains your battery. So you don't really want that. So let me just show you maybe, for those of you who don't know, those of you who do, it's just a reminder. Let's just show you how you can position your light really simple, maybe even without using your modeling light. So we're going to use the octa. The first thing to make sure is that you get the person we're photographing to get in their pose and to look in the same direction that you're going to be photographing them. So I'm going to be here. So Stefan needs to keep looking this way, okay? I then get my light and I bring it in. So we're going to go for the Rembrandt-ish cross-lighting side of things. Light on one side, pattern on this side. So if I put my light just here, for those of you who don't know, all right, if the light is just on the side and that goes off, one side of the face will have light, this side will be in shadow. So if I want to make sure that we have light on this side and a nice pattern of light on this side, this was a little trick that helps me, all right? All I'm going to do is put the light just here. Maybe there would be good. And then what I do is I come in nice and tight against the light. Get myself really tight. And while Stefan, that's what she said, and then while Stefan is looking that way, I'm going to look straight across, and if I can see from here, if I can see this cheek from there, so can this, which means the light will hit it. So we can do that with big lights. We can do it with small lights, with the Rogue flash benders. If you can see the light or the cheek from there, so can the light source. So we'll go with something like that for now. I'll just angle it down maybe a little bit. And I might even just twist it just a touch so that we get a little light on that background, all right? So I look across. In fact, Stefan, if you just put your nose on my finger and just come this way just a touch. There we go. All right. So I apologize for my back. Now, let's just turn it on and see how we're getting on. So we'll turn our light on. And we're going to put on the modeling light just to see how we're getting on. So there, when the modeling light's on, we now see where the light would be. Apologise if it's a bit awkward over there, but light on this side, shadow on this side, but can you see the light in there now? So by doing it again and again and again, easy, easy. Now we're going to do something a bit crazy. They always say don't work with children and animals, right? I think after today they should add one more. Don't shoot tethered in front of a live audience. But we'll just kind of see and we'll hope it works. So what I'll do now, then I'm going to dive over to Lightroom. Let's just bring up my mirroring on my screen. So we'll go there and we'll go down to Lightroom. Okay, cool. Got my light meter. All right, let's just drag this out now so we can see what we're doing. And there we go. Shooting tethered. I mean, it's for the, who shoots tethered? Those of you who don't, I really recommend you do, because what it does for you, not only do you see your pictures on a big screen, so you notice much more detail and things that you may have missed on a small screen, but another thing it does is slow you down. That's probably one of the best bits of advice I was ever given. Slow down, okay? So it's really good for that. Okay, so let's go here. We go File, and we go to Tethered Capture, and we'll just turn the camera on. Always helps. And we'll go Start Tethered Capture. All right, cool. Let's just take an embarrassing shot of one of you. Canon focusing, great, huh? No, whoa. I didn't say that. I didn't busy. I didn't tell you I'm moving to Sony either. I didn't tell you that. Did I say that really? See, why does it do that? See, it's saying busy. Bear with me 1 second. Now, don't tell Adobe this because they're only across the way, but I don't really use Lightroom for tethering. I find it a little bit unstable, all right? Some people, you may have found that yourselves, but I find it just a little bit unstable. And we get the spinning beach ball of death. There we go, right. So we go File, Tethered Capture, and Start Tethered Capture, and OK. No camera detected, which is great. Okay, so just bear with me 1 second. Tethering, like I said, is very good. Okay. Yeah, I have done, mate. I have done. Okay, so File, Tethered Capture, Start Tethered Capture. Bosh. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, man. All right, okay, hold on 1 second. Let's just close that down. Let's get rid of this. I think we know. There we go. So let's get rid of that. EOS utility, Canon utility just will not go away. Force quit. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Okay, cool. So now it should work. Let's just go back to Lightroom. There we go. Right, ready? That's you on there, okay? Trust me, it's working. Right, believe me. Right. Okay. Right then. Okay. So, whoo. Right. Children, animals, tethering. There you go. So, right then, we're going to just shoot with this. I reckon maybe just simple numbers. We'll go for 125th of a second. Let's go for f4. Pretty decent shallow depth of field. And 100 ISO. Now, we're going to use this Pro Photo setting here. Let's just test that that's going to work for us, which it is. Right. So, let's just turn the light meter on. Who here uses a light meter? Keep your hands up if you use it. Oh, wow, more of you. Okay, cool, okay, that's good. Let's have a quick test here. 3.2, so we'll go up just a touch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 on 10. F4, bang on. I'm all into making things nice and simple, all right? But practicing the lighting style constantly has helped me. A little tip as well, if you want to practice and you find it sometimes very difficult to get a model or somebody to stand in front of your camera, go onto eBay and type in polystyrene, if you can, polystyrene mannequin head. And they're like €5 for a white mannequin head. And you can go in your garage, shove it on a light stand, and just practice day and night. And the great thing is, they don't moan, they don't get all diva-ish on you, they'll just stand there all the time for you to practice. So that when you then eventually have a real person in front of you, easy peasy, you know how to do it, all right? Let's just test, that's going to work brilliant. Okay, so let's just try this then. So quick shot with Stefan, that's it, cool. All right, let's take a quick test shot, make sure everything's looking good. All right, let's see what that looks like when it comes through. There we go, cool. All right. So you can see there straight away, nice pattern of light on the one, shadow on here, highlight on here, nice pattern of light on this side and a shadow. Really simple. So very, very quick to set the light up. When you've done that, you can go, relax. Now the creativity starts. Somebody once said to me, I don't like to use light meters because everybody's light then looks the same. It's like, no. It's a good starting point. You might get the exposure exactly right, and then you might find that your style, you think, I want mine darker. So you've got a great start, knock it down a little bit. You may even think, I like it a bit brighter, so you knock it up a bit more. But it gives you a great starting point. I think when you're doing this to get paid, which I guess there are some of you here who do that to get paid, there is nothing better. It's a great feeling, I'm sure you agree. If you've got somebody who's paying you and they're there watching because they're paying you for this, the first photo to come out of your camera is bang on. Confidence way up here. But that only comes from constantly practicing mannequin head, garage, easy peasy, all right? So we'll take just a couple more shots. The grey background is going to be brilliant for us to get the fake €700 Oliphant background. I'm actually going to include, no, you can bring your foot up a little bit actually. Now we were a little bit, red trainers, will it work, won't it work? But I started as a retoucher, so I'm thinking, I'll change the colour later. That kind of stuff I don't mind, but little things I could do by moving a light, no, we do it in camera, all right? So let's just take a quick shot. Just bring your chin down for me, that's it, cool. There we go. There we go, cool. All right. So you can see now it's just great fun. But it's given me a starting point just by looking at that picture. Stefan was able to get into the pose, and we're both just relaxed, enjoying it. It's no stress. Great, great fun. Does this make sense? Just by copying something, you know, we've stolen the pose, we stole the lighting, but Stefan is not George Clooney. No matter how much he may want to be George Clooney, he is not George Clooney. But he's Stefan, and now we're making something of our own by taking it from somebody else. I'll take one more shot, and then we'll start to have a look at a little bit of retouching as well, okay? So you're getting to see the whole process, mistakes and all right? Okay. Actually, bring that foot down a bit now. So can you bring it back down a bit more? That's it, so it's out of view. That's it, cool. Chin down. Cool. And one more. Actually, let's just go for a bit of this one here. Something like that. So just a bit of variation. All right. I saw Brendan de Klerk's presentation yesterday. If you haven't seen it, tough. It's too late. He's on at the same time. But I saw it, and it was absolutely brilliant. And it made me, when I was looking at his pictures, I realised that he shoots with a much wider angle, 35 mil, 45 mil. I thought, I'm going to try that. I'm going to steal that and see if I can use it as well. So we're always doing it. There's no problem. We all do it because we're never going to be the same because we're all different. Okay. Anyway, round of applause for Stefan. Thank you very much, mate. Away you go. Oh. All right. So let's just move this out of the way. Thank you, mate. All right, so let's have a look at the retouching side of things then. So I'm just going to bring this table just a little bit further forward. I think maybe there. Okay, let's get the chair. All right, so let's unplug this. And we'll go into here. Alrighty, so now, what I'm going to show you now might sound a bit strange, but I don't do this. I don't actually do this. And what I mean is, I never do a photo shoot, get the pictures in my computer, retouch them, get them online straight away. I remember I said about slowing down. I get home, they go in the computer, I back them up, and I back them up again, paranoid, back them up again, and then I just computer down, go downstairs, remind my wife that I am actually still around, have a glass of wine and just chill out. And then the next day, I will then start to work on the pictures, okay? So just slow down. There is this tendency now with the digital world, everything's like, go, 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 get it online. But if you rush and you post it online too quickly, I guarantee there'll be something about it you'll then notice and go, I missed that. But everyone's seen it. So just slow down, all right? All right, let's just choose a picture then that we've got here. Where's my Wacom pen gone? Man, I'm getting everything stolen. Where is it? No. Everyone's stealing my stuff. Let's have a look. Is it here? No. Okay, so that's interesting because Wacom lent me that one. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to do this freestyle. They're going to kill. Oh no, hold on. It's dark. I can see it now. All right. I thought they're going to kill me. I've already borrowed one. All right. Let's have a look at the picture then. So. Let's get rid of that annoying tethering thing there. So the pictures, let's have a quick look. I might just go, I'll go for this one. When you get that link, that download, I'll take you through the whole workflow, okay? So you see everything, like changing the shoes and stuff like that, but I don't want to keep you here for that. All right, so when I go through the retouching side of things, I don't have a set pattern. I don't go, right, I do this, I always do this, and I always do this. That doesn't happen. I literally, when I get the computer and I've got the picture in front of me, whatever it is that jumps out and looks really obvious that I need to do, that's what I do. and then I just look at it again. What else do I need to do? And I move through, all right? So with this one, because I didn't use a grey card, the first thing I'll do is the white balance, okay? So we've got the white balance tool in Lightroom. So I'll just click on the white balance tool, and we'll click, and that'll give me a pretty damn good start. I've used a grey background, so it's pretty much there, you know, cheating is pretty much there. Now this is my own style. You don't need to do this, but you could copy if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. What I'm going to do first of all, then come to the Develop module here. I'm going to take the shadow slider because I want a bit more detail in those shadow areas. So I'll bring it up to around about here, let's say, something like that. I then go down to the Details tab, and I do a little bit of sharpening. I may do some later on, but I'll do a little bit now. And I find that for male portraits, for me, I tend to go around about 40-ish. Something like that is good. Now, I don't want all of the picture sharpened. I only want Stefan to be sharpened. So I'm going to use the masking slider. I'm going to hold down my Option key, or my Alt key, click on the masking slider, and it all goes white, which means it's all been sharpened. Hello? And then I'm going to move the slider across to the right, and it brings black in. Now, wherever is black is not being sharpened, wherever is white is being sharpened. So we'll go for something like that. Then we'll go down to lens corrections, and I always put a tick in those. Always do that, just a natural thing. Maybe I should have it do it when I import them, but that's just me, all right? So now then, let's send it over to Photoshop. I'll send this image to Photoshop to do a little bit more work on it, just a few things. Smart objects, let's just quickly mention smart objects. If I did a lot of work in Lightroom, lots and lots of steps, adjustment brushes, vignettes, removing spots, and all that kind of stuff, I would then send the image to, from Lightroom to Photoshop as a smart object, purely because it'll then allow me, if I have to be able to dive back into Camera Raw and refine them if I've gone too far. It's a very fail-safe way of retouching. And again, if you don't know about those, it'll be on that download. But let's just do a couple of things so you can see part of the process. Let's just zoom in on Stefan here. I won't go through the whole lot. Like I said, that'll be on your download. But let's have a look at his eyes. How would I work on his eyes? Lots of ways you can do stuff in Photoshop. There's no right or wrong way. If you get the result, game on. As long as you're happy how you got there, it doesn't matter. But let me just show you how I work on eyes. I'm going to get a brush, a round brush. And it's not exactly hard, not exactly soft, kind of midway. And then I'm going to use Quick Mask. Click on Quick Mask because I love using that because that is a very visual way for me to make a selection. Where I paint is what I want. So it's really simple. And you'll see when I do that, when I paint down, this red overlay is basically saying this is the area that you're now selecting. Now, for those of you who've never really used Quick Mask that much, yours will not work like this. There's one thing that you need to do. Just double-click on the Quick Mask icon, and it brings up the Quick Mask options. And yours will say masked areas. That's what yours will say, okay, when you first do this. Now, I don't know why. Maybe it's just me thinking strange, but I actually think Adobe have set this up wrong. Because by having it set as masked areas, what Adobe is saying is that wherever you paint is what you don't want. And I was like, what? Surely it's easier and makes more sense that if I go that and that and that, I'm saying I want that. Okay, and that kind of makes sense to me. So if that's the way that you want to work, you only need to do this once. Just change it to say selected areas. And click OK. So from now on, when you do it, where you paint is what you select. All right? So we selected his eyes. We press Q to come out of Quick Mask, and we get the marching ants. And then we can use one adjustment layer to work on his eyes, just one. And I'm going to use the one over here called Selective Color. So I'll click on that, and it brings up the properties. Every adjustment has its own properties. Okay, so a couple of things we need to do. The first one, we go from reds to neutrals. That's the first thing. Then we're going to use a blend mode. And the blend mode can really brighten the eyes up. So I come over here to where it says normal, and I'm going to choose linear dodge. And look what happens when I press this. Bang, bright eyes, really bright eyes. Now, how do I know that that's the blend mode to use? I tried every other one. That's it. There is nothing clever about that at all. What does that do? What does that do? What does that do? What does that? Ah, that one works. Brilliant. Okay. Now, it looks too much at the moment, but we've got opacity. So we can lower the opacity to what we want. But with one adjustment layer, we brighten the eyes. We can also change the color of the eyes as well, all from one adjustment layer. So let's just play around with the eyes just a little bit here. A bit more blue, something like that. We can also go to the neutrals and then blacks and add contrast as well. All from one adjustment layer, which is great. Nice and quick, nice and simple. And there's, like I said, there's many ways you can work on eyes. This is just my style at the moment. This is what I like. All right? So that's that there. And then you can, once you back out, you can then lower the opacity to see what you think works. Whoops, let's go to around about maybe there, before and after. All right? Let's just press on the hand there to make it go to there. Now, many more steps would do, but all I want to do is just quickly show you how to save 700 euros. All right? Here's your canvas. Ready? Very simple. Here's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to go File and Place, or File, Place, Embedded. Depends what version of Photoshop you're using. And I've got a texture here, wall texture. And I'm going to click Place. And all I'm going to do now is just stretch this out so it fills the picture, like that. Now, all that is a piece of concrete that I took a picture of with my phone. That's all it is. All right, we can use textures. So from now on, if you don't do it already, take pictures of the floor, the road, the walls, the carpet, everything. Just collect them. You never know that, or buy, if you want to buy one of those, I'm trying to save you money. All right, so just take pictures of things. I like it. I didn't think of that. Just between us, all right? We'll queue up afterwards. Right, good man, good man. All right. You're a bad man. All right, okay, so so there's your texture, okay? So now then, let's add it onto that grey background. All I'm going to do is go from normal to overlay, like this. So a couple of things I need to do afterwards, but look, already, look at that wall. We're getting into here. That's so far. Now, the next thing I do, I'm going to add a layer mask. Then I'm going to get a brush, a black brush, and all I'll do is just come in and very quickly paint it off Stefan. Like this. Go very quickly, just paint it off. Some of the dark areas you're not going to need to worry about. But we'll just come in here, off his skin, like this, and off the arm and the hand. All right. Now, a little tip, if you're using layer masks and you can't see where you've painted, press the / key, and it shows you a red overlay. So now you can then carry on painting to remove it off bits, all right? That's a very, very quick way of doing it. Once you've done that, you can then maybe lower the opacity of that texture to go to something like that. But the great thing about this is, if you think about it, let's say you spend 700 euros on an oliphant background, which is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. How many times are you going to use it? 700 euros, there's going to be so many pictures with the same background on them. But if you do this, one texture, why not add another texture with a different blend mode? Why not lower the opacity? Why not add a third blend mode, third texture with another blend mode and make completely unique backgrounds every single time, and it's not costing you a penny? That's got to be a good thing, right? Now, the last thing I'll show you, because there will be more in the download, is just on the colouring. Now, I used to use Colour Effects Pro 4 from Nick, the Nick collection, which was great. Cross-processing, cross-balance, I loved it. But now I use things called lookup tables. And they brought those over from the movie world and put them into Photoshop. And they are a fantastic way to color grade your pictures. If ever you go onto YouTube, Okay, so a friend down here is asking, how did I do the floor on that group picture? Okay, and the really easy answer to that is, in the download, there'll be a link to a video that'll show... No, okay, but seriously though, with the floor, I had to change the perspective, but you'll see that because it was only like wooden floor looking down. So I changed the angle of it. Overlay blend mode, bang, and just painted it off the feet. It's really simple, really simple. What was I saying? Oh yeah, movie world, right. Okay, so YouTube. If you go onto YouTube and look at how they make movies, behind the scenes, and on some of them, they'll split the screen in half. And on the left-hand side, you can see what it looked like when they were filming it. And on the right-hand side, it shows this is what it looked like in the cinema once they'd added the color grading to it. So that was done a lot using lookup tables, 3D lookup tables. And they've now got them in Photoshop. So I'll show you where they are. They're in the adjustment layers here. It's like a 3x3 grid. Can you see that little grid there? It'll be on the video as well for you. So when you click on this, we get lots of, well, we've got 3 menus. And you get all these different choices here. Some of them are from the movie world. Some of them are now from the photography world to recreate looks. But as an example how you can use these, let's just add one down here, tension green. And it looks horrible, right? But remember, an adjustment layer. Opacity, blend modes, all those are available to you. So I might just say, let's take it down to 30%. Let's add another one. And I'll choose one here called Edgy Amber, let's say. Again, horrible. But let's lower the strength down to maybe 20%. And I'll add one more. Let's take this one here. We'll go to, I don't know, Crisp Winter. I'm just kind of playing. Whoop, not that one. We'll go for, yeah, Crisp Winter. What is it? There you go, Crisp Winter. And I'll lower the opacity down on that one to maybe 40% or maybe 50%. So you can see when you put them all into a little group like this, how you can start to build up the color grading in your pictures. The video that I'll send you a link to shows you how to do this, and also how you can make your own recipes and have them as one click. So it just does it. In the future, in the near future, Adobe are working on something where you could maybe watch a film or you see a picture and you think, I love that. Look at the coloring on that picture, on that film. That's amazing. You can freeze it, use that still from the movie, put it into Photoshop, and it will create a lookup table that you can then just go click and add it to your pictures. How cool is that? That's coming. That is coming. All right. So there's more I'll show you on that afterwards, but let me just kind of like jump over back here to the presentation thing here. Let's just go to Keynote. And let's just jump in. Now, I don't know if some of you think this, but I actually think that Stefan, does anyone know Christian Slater? I think Stefan looks like Christian Slater. Do you not think? Maybe it's just me. I do. Yeah, okay. All right. So those are the pictures that we worked on there. Now, there's just something I want to show you here very briefly. When I did this presentation on Saturday, I got speaking to a guy who was from the Netherlands afterwards. And he said to me that he does this kind of thing. He's got a model that he works with, and she sees pictures of celebrities on Pinterest and says, could we do this one? And they try to copy it exactly. And it's just fun for them. It's fun for them, but great way for him to learn. And they can see examples here. You see how the left-hand side is her, the right-hand side is the original. And I just thought that was just a fantastic little project that's really helping him. He doesn't do photography for money. He does it for fun. But a great project that they're both involved in, but a great way to learn. So I thought that was really kind of cool. And the last thing I'll end up on is this. Does anybody know who this is? Blimey, that was quick. I wanted to take a sip of water there. Hold on. Does anybody know who this is? Arnold. Okay, right. Now, you might think it's weird me putting this on there, but there is a reason. Now, I told you when I was younger, I used to do bodybuilding and stuff like that, so he is my hero. But there's a picture of Arnold when he's a little boy in school in Austria, Graz in Austria. Okay, and when he's a little boy, all his... Okay. Professional, you can't put me off. Okay, so all he's thinking is, right, when he's a young boy, all he's dreaming is, when I'm older, I want to be the best bodybuilder in the world. I want to be the most famous bodybuilder in the world. So what did Arnold do? Well, all he did was he went out there and he got every single bodybuilding magazine he could get his hands on. Every magazine, every film, every single thing he could get. And in there were his heroes, Reg Park, Dave Draper, and he looked at their routines. What exercises do they do? What sets do they do? How many reps do they do? And he copied it exactly to the letter. Everything they did, he did it again and again and again. And over the years, the more he did it, the more he grew. And then eventually, he started to realize, actually, I grow better when I do this. I do this exercise rather than what Dave Draper does. And he started to learn what he does and what's best for him. And I think that's really similar for us as photographers. The photographing like a thief to copy. Copy so many times, again and again and again, without you even realizing it. Eventually, your style, without you forcing it, because you can't force it, eventually starts to come out. And before you know it, somebody will say to you, oh, that looks just like Leibowitz, but yours is a little bit different. You know then you're starting to get a style. So from this day, remember this day, from this day, you have my permission to be a thief. All right? Now there's that link. Thank you very much.